Okay, 7 o'clock. I call to order the May 10th, 2021 public meeting of the Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners. First of all, the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag, followed by a moment of thanks for members of the armed forces, especially those in harm's way, our first responders, healthcare workers, food supply workers, our municipal staff and employees who are helping our community and country through these trying times. Let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Followed with the HUD statement. Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing and review all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township, in its land use decisions, does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. Next, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
I'll make that motion, Fisher.
Do I have a second?
Tia.
Who was the second?
That was me, Phil. To Tia. I'll second.
Randy, okay. Comments from the board? Any comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren. Aye. Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes,
We have 7 ayes, 0 nays.
okay, before we go on with the rest of the agenda, regretfully, I wish to note the passing of the following past township personnel. Gerald Nero from Cementon. He was a volunteer firefighter with 58 years of service. Yeah, 58 years of service. That's amazing. Next gentleman, Keith Hans was public works employee for 44 years of service. He retired in 2018. And also the passing of James Sweeney. He was a township commissioner in the mid-1990s. Our effects go to their families, and we thank them for their years of service to this township. Next is Atlanta presentation. Who's here for the Landa presentation? Mr. Jordan?
Hello there. Yes, I'm here. I'm not sure who is helping me present. There we go. Great.
This is Lee. Can I just give an introduction? I had contacted AJ about giving a presentation to the board about the bus service that is currently planned for Whitehall Township, as we are a critical part of this route. I felt like maybe the commissioners, and AJ has also agreed to present before the Planning Commission. I thought maybe it would be appropriate for you to be familiar with what's going on as the representatives of the people in the township, in case you weren't familiar with it. So he has agreed to give us his presentation.
Thank you so much, Lee, for this opportunity. For those of you who are involved in LVPC or LVTS, this will be a familiar subject to you. That's where Lee first saw it. But here to give the full presentation to you all and answer any questions afterwards. So I won't be advancing the slides myself, so a little patience will be appreciated, but I think we'll get through it. So I guess if we want to start off, go to the next slide. Well, and a little background on myself. So my name is AJ Jordan. I'm the manager of planning and scheduling for Atlanta for Lehigh Northampton Transportation Authority. We're working on a number of projects throughout the region, but the Enhanced Bus Service project is one that particularly affects Whitehall. So we'll dig into this time, but I can answer any other questions you have as well. So what is EBS? EBS, or Enhanced Bus Service, is Atlanta's longstanding name for Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT. And for those unfamiliar with BRT, BRT is a mode of transit that provides fast, frequent, and comfortable transit service along a dedicated transit line or corridor. So BRT provides most of the features of a light rail line without the expensive cost of rail, but it is a rapid transit line that you can treat similarly to a light rail that you see in other cities. Shown here, there are 2 BRT lines, and it would be a new rapid transit for the Lehigh Valley. And you can see on the right, there are many elements that are included in BRT, including enhanced stations and features like security cameras, lighting, informational signage, off-board fare collection to speed up boarding, real-time transit information, frequent service, modern branded and marketing, and all sorts of other features. Next slide. So this slide shows the progression of transit service between regional frequent rail service on the right and where we are now with most bus routes offering hourly service over on the left. As with any market, slow and steady growth is the key to success. So to get to the right, we have to build up the service by adding frequency to hourly routes, making them every half hour, then every quarter hour, adding occasional express buses, and so on. And we are on this pathway at the left, growing the system steadily by maintaining a state of good repair and optimizing service deployment. But I bring this out there because we get a lot of talk in the region about adding light rail. And it's not really, in the world of transit, it's not really a build it and they will come. It is to some degree, but it's more effective to grow the system to where you want to get to. It's a better use of dollars. So that's where we're at right now. We are aiming to go to this middle phase where we have express buses and frequent service and reasonably built out station stops for a region of our size. Similar to the service goals at the top, there's a regression of bus stops and stations at the bottom, from a simple stop to modern improvements like benches and shelters, to station stops with added features, and then on up to full transit stations, similar to what you see in larger cities. So EBS is aiming for the moderately sized station stops with helpful features for riders while not requiring the large-scale engineering and land acquisition required for larger stations. Next slide. So what's in the station stops we're talking about? The following 3 slides are from the A-Line Bus Rapid Transit project in Minneapolis-St. Paul. It's a project of very similar scale to what we're working on in Atlanta. The most common element in these types of systems is the informational pylon. These help identify a station stop from a distance and usually include technical elements like real-time displays, letting you know when the buses are coming, and security cameras, lighting, and other common elements that are unique to identifying each route and the neighborhood as a destination. So you'll see here there's informational signage letting you know what's in the neighborhood and what you can, businesses that you can shop at while you're at the station. Additionally, there are ticket vending machines to allow for off-board fare payment. So similar to the way you would in a subway system, you would pay for your ticket before, and then when the bus arrives, you just jump on board. So it's a really fast service. So yeah, that decreases the overall time, which speeds up entire service across the region, which will better connect all stops, including all the Whitehall stops, to other areas of the region. So next slide. Other common features include the shelter, of course, benches, waste baskets, detectable warning strip, which are those bubble sidewalks that you get for ADA reasons. Kind of makes the shopping cart jiggle as you go in the store. We also have additional security features, as I mentioned before, and sometimes there are multimodal elements that we'll be including at some of our stops, but not all of them. And those elements include stuff like bike racks. We've been talking about any bike sharing programs that exist in some of the cities. And if Whitehall has a bike share program, we would love to host a station stop there. And any other multimodal features like that. Next slide. One important feature of these types of station stops is providing additional lighting at night, creating a safer environment for both transit riders as well as the surrounding neighborhoods. This picture is actually from Minneapolis' C-Line, which is their 3rd BRT route, which opened in summer of 2019. Next slide. So we've been talking about Minneapolis-St. Paul, which is, of course, a much larger metropolitan area than the Lehigh Valley. We use it as an example of the station stops because they're most similar to those in the EBS proposal. However, many of our peer regions are building similar lines as they develop their own transportation networks. So Albany, Schenectady, Troy, New York is a region quite similar to the Lehigh Valley, with an urban area of 595,000 compared to our 665,000. So they actually have 70,000 fewer residents. And similarly, they have 3 large cities anchoring their service area. These are photos of stations in the Capital District Transportation Authority Bus Plus red and blue lines. And if you go to the next slide, we have a map. CDTA, that transit agency, laid out 3 BRT lines in their 2005 transit development plan. The red line opened in 2011, the blue line opened in November of last year, and the purple line was fully funded in June of 2020 with a planned opening in fall of 2022. I go to the next slide. Richmond, Virginia, a slightly larger region, opened their GRTC Pulse line in summer 2018. GRTC, or the Greater Richmond Transport Company, was able to build more substantial station stops by designing a uniform prefab station. These station stops are all identical, but feature some additional enhancements afforded by the efficiencies in production. And this is important to bring up because the more we work together as a region, the more we are able to create station stops that are the same in Whitehall, Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, everywhere that this system is planned to go, the more efficiencies we can create to decrease the cost to everyone involved, including all stakeholders. But one cool feature to show here is the pylons on the right have green countdown lights, which is really cool. 5 minutes before the bus departs, the bottom light turns on, and then every minute the next light goes up, and then when all 5 are there, the bus shows up and the pylon's fully lit, and then the bus leaves. It's really cool if you're from a distance and you're shopping, which I took these pictures done in Richmond. If you're shopping and you can see, oh, I still have 3 minutes to shop before the bus comes. It's a cool feature. I don't think we will be putting this feature in our station stops, but we're at the point where we can work on the designs and talk about features that the region would really like to see. So next slide. So how did we get here? Lehigh Valley began the process for BRT back in 2012, so close to a decade ago. We identified rapid transit as a regional need in the 2014 Lehigh Valley. In 2012, we identified rapid transit as a need, which kicked off a study for which types of modes and which corridors would be most effective. That led to the 2014 Lehigh Valley Enhanced Bus BRT study, and a core network corridors and alignments were identified and assessed, as you can see on the right here. Since then, additional analyses and assessments have refined the corridors and station stop placements, and 2 lines have been identified as productive BRT corridors for development. Next slide. So you can see here, this is the, previous slide. Yep. This is the proposed or planned EBS system. So it's 2 lines. The green line is a 14.1 mile line serving the core urban areas of Allentown and Bethlehem, which connects to Whitehall Township, all of you, and all the shopping there, as well as to Southside Bethlehem, Lehigh University, and the downtowns of Bethlehem and Allentown. The blue line is a 26.8 mile line connecting the entire valley east to west from Trexlertown, all the way to Trexlertown and Briningsville, all the way to downtown Easton. Both lines share a 6 mile core alignment along Union Boulevard and West Broad Street, connecting to destinations like Coca-Cola Park, the Airport Road corridor, and Lehigh Shopping Center. So that would be a direct connection from Whitehall to those destinations as well.
AJ, excuse me, just a point of clarification. The northernmost dot in Whitehall, that's the Walmart station, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes. So there are 3 station stops planned for Whitehall. I've got Jordan Parkway listed here. The original plan called for it at Jordan. We're also looking at, a little further north where the bus shelters are. So it's either at the White Castle or at, the PennDOT Driver License Center. And then there's a stop at Lehigh Valley Mall at the transit center there. And then the northernmost stop is the shelter that went in at the Walmart last year. And so it's improvements to that shelter. And then there wouldn't be stops in between, but how it would affect Whitehall is any sort of corridor improvements. We're not talking about a dedicated busway in this section. Some BRTs do, but we are talking about signal improvements and TSP queue jumps and making sure that buses can move through any traffic in the area. But that also means we're not talking about these buses going on the side streets like our current buses do along Mickley and the Whitehall Mall area. Any other questions about that before I move forward?
Thank you.
This is This is Commissioner Warren. The EBS service, is that to supplement the other services that you just referenced? Or will they be
Yes.
modified? Okay.
Yeah,
That's all.
well, there will, when we do finally build out a full EBS corridor line, each line, we'll be realigning the routes to serve it better. So instead of the long haul routes of the 103 bus route goes to Whitehall and goes all the way to Southside Bethlehem with local stops, what will happen is that service will shift to the EBS corridor to a more frequent high capacity line, and then local bus routes will feed into it. So you'll still have a lot of local bus routes. The Whirlybird that circulates Whitehall, we actually can't get rid of that route unless there's a way for pedestrians to cross MacArthur. So that's there to stay. And then all the other routes connecting up to Cementon and then across the river to Northampton, those will all still exist as well.
Thank you.
But one thing we do get from building out the EBS corridor is it makes those extra routes more efficient. We're able to increase the capacity of the core line and then use the service that we have, the service miles and hours that we have toward those areas that feed into the route. So you'll see improvements on service all around, not just on the corridor. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. So since the completion of the EBS study in 2014, the EBS project has been incorporated into numerous coordinated regional plans, putting us in a strong position to move forward for completion of the project. EBS plays a large role in future LV, the regional plan, the long range transportation plan, the recent Eastern RMTC regional operations plan, and various other municipal plans. So you can see here, goal 2.3 in future LV establishes a regional goal to encourage enhanced transit connections to improve mobility and job access, particularly to job centers such as Whitehall. The plan includes renderings of BRT on key corridors and high frequency bus service in centers and corridor section. You can see here this picture was in future LV. It's a mock-up of MacArthur, and it's maybe a little aspirational. It's got a busway down the center of MacArthur and trees lining a boulevard. I'm not sure we are pursuing that level of BRT improvements, but if that's a direction Whitehall wants to go, we're certainly open to talking about that. But that is a significantly bigger engineering lift than we were talking about for our current BRT project. Next slide. Another example of EBS being incorporated into a plan is Allentown Vision 2030, which is the City of Allentown's comprehensive plan, which they adopted in 2019. This plan includes Lanta bus routes as well as the EBS corridor shown here in the solid purple line. The EBS station stops are marked with dots, and buffers are shown around each to encourage transit-oriented development policies, which is, putting proper land use and shops and dense residential developments around the station stops, which both increases the tax base for the municipality as well as reduces the need for any parking because you're focusing on transit. And we all know parking is very expensive. So in addition, the plan establishes the concept of mobility hubs at key EBS station stop locations, which is the TOD I was just talking about. A mobility hub prioritizes additional enhancements to pedestrian, bicycle, and other multimodal infrastructure to support the station and create a sense of place around it. Conversations have already started with key stakeholders in Allentown regarding a section that I can go into next. But I bring all this up at the Whitehall meeting because we would love to be incorporated into any additional planning around the station stops in Whitehall. And we're still at the design phase of this. So we're at a point where we can discuss what Whitehall would like to see around these station stops and how we can tailor our planning efforts for the 3 station stops in Whitehall around Whitehall's needs and the vision for the entire MacArthur corridor. Next slide. So this is just the next few slides are just a quick look at 17th and Chew, which is one area where we've been working with stakeholders on one station stop there. This is the current intersection of 17th and Chew. And if you go to the next slide, we've got two different versions. So we're looking at a station stop like this being placed at a corner, or on the next slide, we're talking about a larger plaza. And this is the mobility hub transit-oriented development phase, where we could make a station stop larger if you want to create a sense of place where we could put tables. And in Allentown, this is directly across the street from the Lehigh Valley Hospital at 17th Street. And they're talking about, having vendors and selling, concessions and stuff at the station stop. It's also right next to the Allentown Fairgrounds, so there's a place for people to queue for events. I'm not sure that there will be many large events in Whitehall at these station stops, but this is where we can have a discussion for whatever the plans are around the Lehigh Valley Mall area to see if Whitehall would like any of these station stops to be larger to focus on any needs that Whitehall sees coming in the future. Next slide. So what will we gain as a region from all this? Lower costs to our funding partners, which includes all regional stakeholders. We're all contributing to the transit system. When productivity is increased on the corridors, the operational cost per rider decreases, saving everybody money. So the more we can increase service on these corridors, the more we are able to have a return in investment on those dollars. Every dollar goes in, increases with spending capacity. We all know that from any transportation investment. Increased economic activity in the areas surrounding the station, as well as nearby neighborhoods. We'll get fast and frequent service along these corridors to better tie into the neighborhood circulators, as we were discussing earlier. Safety features at station stops. So cameras on board buses running frequently along the corridors, signal enhancements for traffic signal priority, and then the lighting at stations and cameras at station stops mentioned earlier increases safety all the way around. It increases safety for drivers with the enhanced signals. It increases any safety for any issues that might happen along the corridor with more eyes on the street. And we'll have more cameras just kind of watching everything, which can help with safety all around. Additionally, there's more robust tourism, tourists, visitors, casual riders, not your average bus rider, all appreciate the enhanced safety features and rider information that these station stops and this frequency provides. So some people call them choice riders. These choice riders will feel more comfortable using this type of system, these two lines, than they would the average Lanta bus, and it will increase desire for people to ride to events. So you'll actually, I consider going from Whitehall for dinner after an Iron Pigs game, for example. That's all an option with these corridors as it connects the region better. Addition to increased property values along station stops, every single BRT project to date has increased the property values around station stops. These are capital investments, and so all capital investments have a positive return for any properties within easy walking distance of the station stops. Also, as mentioned earlier, high frequency bus corridors, not only on these lines, but also all of the feeder service going into it and all the neighborhood routes. And then corridors for targeted regional development. So as shown in the Allentown Vision 2030 plan and the Future LD plan, this investment will encourage additional private investments in higher density and values along the lines where land use policies are adjusted in response to the network. So by working together and adjusting any land use policies along these station stops, we can both benefit from a positive return on investment by making sure that we're tailoring any businesses that want to be around transit with the land that will exist around transit. And that's why it's important to have these conversations up front. Next slide. So this is getting into the weeds here, but the what's next is this is a typical development process for a BRT line. So project scoping is substantially complete. That's what's been happening the last few years, and that's where we refine the corridors. From this, sorry. Yeah, so project scoping includes most of the elements outlined in this presentation. And from this point, it can take 3 to 5 years to complete. So once funding sources are identified, this time is used for design and engineering, completing any grant applications, grant acceptance requirements. And so that's the period where we do a lot of enhanced stakeholder outreach. Both will be coming back, of course, to the Board of Commissioners and to neighborhood organizations around every single station stop to do advanced technical drawings of how the station stop should be improved and what needs to be incorporated for each of those. So that comes next after we secure funding. And then from there, it's a year process for that, the appropriate grant application, acceptance, and then building approximately 3 years out. Once construction starts, typically it can be completed in approximately a year, 12 to 18 months, depending on the detail. We aren't doing full busways. That usually adds some time. So I'm pretty confident construction will last just under a year. And it's not too disruptive of a construction project process because you're only doing the station stops instead of dedicated corridors. It should be noted here that these steps listed here are typical development timeline using the Federal Transit Administration Capital Investment Grants Program, or FTA SIG as we call it in transit world. The FTA SIG program is one of various options for grant pursuits that we continue to assess. But it's the funding stream most likely to be the best fit for this development. And all of the peer BRT projects we've discussed so far have used this funding stream. So that's why we're adopting it as our model. It's also important to note that this timeline is the same timeline for each route, line, corridor, or segment. So there are some advantages to working on the system as a whole, as opposed to individual corridors. We're still probably going to split it up into the green line and the blue line as separate projects, and potentially split the blue line in half because it's such a long line from Trexlertown to Easton. But we are committed to pursuing the green line through Whitehall and Southside Bethlehem first. So that will be one complete project. And really the next phase is to keep moving this process forward. We're forming a technical advisory committee. That's part of why we're discussing with LVTS to get regional stakeholders involved and discuss what the next steps are forward for this process. Next slide. This is really in the weeds, an estimated cost assessment just showing all of the BRT lines that have gone through this FTA SIG program in the last 5 years. And I've highlighted some of our peers. So you can see here our full EBS system for Allentown is right there in the middle in green. I highlighted peer systems. Albany, New York is the blue line at the top. And then also Grand Rapids, Michigan has a very similar system. So we're looking at a multi-million-dollar investment, but it's important to note that the majority of that investment comes back in the form of grants. So we're able to submit a small local match and receive a very large federal match to improve the entire region's transit system with a little local support. So that's the basis of this slide. We can get into details later if you'd like, but on the next slide, we're just going to go back to the map. And I'm happy to, and that's pretty much it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know that went to the weeds a little bit, but any questions from anybody?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Warren. One question and one comment. One comment and a question. I've noticed people crossing MacArthur Road at the area of the mall, and I believe they're going over to the big box store on the southbound side. And I've also been in the fast food restaurant where an employee had a conversation where he had to leave work early to catch the bus over at the mall to get home. So I don't know if there's a southbound stop at that side, but that's certainly something that might be helpful to prevent people from crossing in the area of the mall. And the other comment, question, I think the shelter down by White Castle was damaged in a car accident. Has that been replaced yet?
The debris has been removed. That was a difficult removal process, and we're sorry and mad it took so long to remove the debris. It was involved process with PennDOT, but we have the debris moved and we've procured a new shelter. So a shelter is being created right now. It hasn't been installed yet, but it should be installed soon. Regarding crossing MacArthur at the mall, that is always a difficult problem. As a pedestrian in the area, it's impossible to cross that street anywhere from Home Depot all the way up to the Wawa. There's no crossing as a pedestrian. So everyone relies entirely on that Whirlybird bus. And unfortunately, we can't stop a bus anywhere south of Grape. There's nowhere to put a bus stop along that street. So anyone crossing from, Best Buy or Burger King or, even Tequila House, all of those shops, there's no way to stop a bus along that corridor. And that's why it's important that part of this process, and one of the things I'm hoping to talk more with the Planning Commission next week is how we can increase the safety for pedestrians in this area, because that's an important feeder element to all transit stops, not just EVS. But it's difficult. For right now, it's not safe, clearly, to cross the street there. But there are very few options. In order to get across the street, you have to walk all the way down to White Castle and cross the street there, and then all the way back up to the mall.
Okay, so logistics in the southbound stop isn't a problem. So, all right. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Just 145 in general, we're not able to stop along the street anywhere within the vicinity of 22. PennDOT just won't allow us to put a bus. We can't stop a bus in the curb lane because there's no breakdown lane there.
Go ahead, Lee.
I was just gonna say, this is Lee. So that was what I was gonna ask, because, in other metropolitan areas, there are similar roads to MacArthur Road, but there are buses stopping on them, and everybody knows you got to get over because the bus may be stopping at any time when you see it. And that's what I was going to ask, is who is the one that makes that decision that you can't have the bus stops on MacArthur? So you just answered it. And the only other question that I had was, have you worked out and by the way, I was on when it was called the BRT, because I was a part of that first committee whenever they were investigating this. That's whenever, I first, was made aware of what was going on. I was asked to be involved in that. So, it's come a long way. But I was just wondering if they had worked out hours, or is that way far down the road yet?
Service hours along the corridor, when the bus will run and how frequently. Is that what you're asking, Lee?
Yes.
Yeah. So that hasn't been formally determined because that will all go into the grant process. So that really depends on how much of a local match we can get. It's all kind of related, but the goal is to have these two corridors run frequent and often and have a large span. So we're talking 5 in the morning at the latest to midnight at the earliest for a span on weekdays and Saturdays. That might be cut back a little on Sundays, depending on how much funding we get. So, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sundays, maybe. And then the goal for this bus is to run every either 15 or 20 minutes. There's potential that we could increase it to every 10 minutes, but that all, again, depends on the local match.
Go ahead, Lee. Did I interrupt you?
No, I was just saying thank you.
Okay, sorry. This is Commissioner Fisher, and I kind of want to build on Lee's question a little bit. So, I see what you're trying to do in terms of the light rail and the reliability in the station stops. And my question is kind of one of practicality, and especially on that kind of that note of reliability. So I drive to Bethlehem every day, and traffic is a mess. I get stuck in traffic jams all the time. It really depends on the time of day and rush hour. So how is this line, how is it going to be reliable? How is it going to be predictable? How do you get around the rush hour issue? If you say a bus is going to arrive every 10 minutes, can it practically and feasibly do that and get to you to where you need to go in a set amount of time?
Yeah, so there are really kind of 3 solutions that can be incorporated into these types of lines to speed up the bus and have reliability. Those three solutions are a dedicated busway, so a lane that's entirely for buses, traffic signal priority, which is something we're familiar with when you see, the lights flash and change for emergency vehicles to have the direction of travel, have the green light. And then signal queue jumps, which is at an intersection that has some timing issues. You can do a dedicated lane for the bus just at that intersection and then have the bus move past traffic. And so there's always a combination of those three elements that work together for the system. And we need to go through each individual corridor. We actually have a traffic engineer that's coming in later this year that's going through each of those corridors to determine the best elements. Generally across the system, it seems like we'll be relying mostly on queue jumps or TSP and not a dedicated busway. In Whitehall, we can discuss that if that's the direction we'd like to move forward, because we have seen MacArthur get very busy, and the future LB plan discusses a dedicated busway there. But as mentioned earlier, a dedicated busway is significantly more expensive than just the TSP or the signal queue jumps. So we're looking at relying on the latter. We're also talking to District 5 about, the diverging diamond plan for 22 and how that gets incorporated there. We clearly can't have a busway in that section, but we need to talk about the signals there.
Okay, so in order for this system to work, you need either the queue jumping TSP or like the lane, the dedicated lane. Like you need some other element in order for this system to work.
Yeah, I mean the most important part is service reliability and frequency. So if we have the buses running all day and if they have a slowed down section, they'll still get the ridership, but of course the speed and being faster goes a long way. So that's one of those every dollar invested goes, 4 or 5 fold, where the typical transit investment every dollar is 3-fold.
Okay, so last question on that note. So I'm assuming this is also going to be avoiding like major highways, like this is going to be avoiding 2278. This is going to mostly be working on like, regular city roads like MacArthur Road and Race Street and like back roads that have lights and stuff where these queue jumpings and stuff can take place.
Yeah, so you can see on this map here, the freeways of the region are kind of thin gray lines. We've got 22 along the top and 78 along the bottom. The goal is to also connect park and rides. So the gray dots are kind of larger stations. So the southernmost end of this line that goes to Whitehall is the Hellertown Park and Ride off, Hellertown 412 and 78. So that park and ride, we're looking at a park and ride in the city somewhere. Both the transit centers have parking structures that are paid. And then we've also, approached them all about potentially using a few spaces there and having that be a park and ride. And I think it would go a long way for Whitehall to, at one of those 2 northernmost station stops, to have a dedicated park and ride so that people can, park their cars, shop, and then jump on the system to go in the cities whenever they need. It's nice to have that connection point to change modes from, a car in the suburbs to transit for the dense urban environments, because that saves on parking. A lot of people choose to do that to save on parking in center city. And to your specific question, yeah, none of the freeways. So between the cities, it's along Tillman Street, which becomes Union, and then West Broad and Bethlehem. Connecting Bethlehem out to Easton, it is the William Penn Highway corridor, Easton Avenue, Stefco, and then William Penn, Northampton into downtown. And the western corridor goes through the city streets on Turner and Chew. It's a Turner-Chew pairing, which avoids the traffic that is typically on Hamilton or Tillman. And then further west out toward Dorneyville, it follows Hamilton Boulevard all the way out to Trexlertown. And stays off 222 in Trexlertown. It's actually on Hamilton, going past the shopping centers in Wescottsville and Mill Creek.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
AJ, this is Mayor Harricle, and I'm curious as to what extent you've been interacting with PennDOT to implement this traffic signal prioritization along MacArthur Road.
Well, so we're in constant communication with PennDOT, both District 5 and the central office in Harrisburg. They are actually funding the traffic study that we are pursuing later this year. So there is already a connection there. It's in both our best interest to make sure that this study for traffic gets implemented in lights and signals. This corridor, the MacArthur corridor, is 145, so that's a PennDOT road. So most of those elements are directly related to our conversation with PennDOT, but there are some local municipal lights along a lot of these corridors, especially in Bethlehem and Allentown. And depending on where the final alignment goes, we might be talking about lights on, Grape or something in Whitehall. And that would be an area where we need to coordinate with the local municipalities based on the recommendations from PennDOT.
Thank you.
AJ, this is Commissioner D. Will the EBS buses have bike racks on the front?
We haven't identified the rolling stock yet. And so some BRT buses are, the bi-articulated double bendy buses that have spaces for bikes on board the bus. But those tend to be a little more expensive and a little less productive for a system like this. So we're looking at procuring 40-foot buses similar to ours that would have the bike racks on front, yes. But the plan is to accommodate bikes in some way on board every bus. I don't think we'll be able to accommodate more than 3 bikes per bus. So that's where the frequency comes in play. Because if more people begin riding to the station stops, you'll want more capacity on board the buses. But also that is where we discussed bike racks and multimodality at the stations. Bike share systems are really helpful for these types of systems because you don't need to bring your own personal bike. You can ride your bike to a station, like a bike rack station at the station stop, jump on board a bus, ride the bus to the other side, and then jump on another bike, a bike share bike at the other side. So that's a helpful system, but that takes a coordinated effort for bike share that Lanta can't coordinate. If somebody else is coordinating that, we'd love to incorporate it into the system.
Yeah, Pittsburgh has an unbelievable bike share system. They have it down pat. Just another point I want to make. You mentioned LBTS. I sit in on those meetings for my other job, but you might just want to explain for those who don't know what it is and how that Lanta is involved with the LBTS.
Sure. I mean, Lehigh Valley Transportation Study and Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, they're related. One is the MPO. So LVTS is the Metropolitan Planning Organization that receives the federal dollars for the region and kind of distributes them appropriately for transportation projects across the region. And it's really the body that coordinates all of our transportation needs across the region. Because if you had separate ones, you'd never get projects that cross municipality lines and coordinate all of them. And that's really the role of LVTS and why we're pursuing LVTS as a stakeholder and advisory committee for this project. And feel free to add anything else you'd like on LVTS.
No,
okay.
Just we throw the letters out just so people understand what it is. So thank you.
AJ, one last question. You mentioned Divergent Diamond at the MacArthur Road interchange that will be in place when Route 22 is ever widened. Did you suggest that's going to cause more points of conflict or challenges in that section of roadway along MacArthur?
Unfortunately, yes. Diverging diamonds are great for getting cars on and off a freeway. But for through traffic, they cause a little more disruption because there's 2 sets of signals that aren't directly timed. And then additionally, when you have the diverging diamond, you've got, your traffic on opposite sides of the roadway, which is not a problem, but it does create some constraints on the bridge structure. So if you were to add, a dedicated bus lane in either or both directions through that system, you're talking significantly more expensive engineering and capital costs for that. So it does create a little bit of a conflict there, definitely.
Well, I think I shared an email with the Board of Commissioners this past week. We were talking about a local project. To save some money on the MacArthur Road span to avoid a center pier, they had this concept of a divergent diamond. And basically, to me, it adds more conflicts on MacArthur Road as 22 gets widened. So that's that's another topic I'd like to learn more about from Lehigh Valley Planning Commission and PennDOT, and how that redesign benefits Whitehall and doesn't add more points of conflict to our already congested roadway. So that's
Yeah,
all
and
I have.
if you do pursue those conversations, we would love to join in on them, and discuss it with you all, because that's a project that's beyond the scope of Lanta, but it does affect us just like it affects Whitehall. So we would love to join in those conversations.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Jordan? There being none, Mr. Jordan, thank you. It was very informative, very professional. We appreciate all the insight you gave us into this.
Yeah, thank you very much, and feel free to reach out anytime. And if you want to hear it again, we'll be at the commissioner meeting next week. So.
Okay, thank you again. Have a good evening. Moving along, courtesy of the floor, I noticed that we have an interesting guest with us tonight, Mr. Phillips Armstrong, the county executive. Can we open his mic up, please, Melissa?
Yes, just one moment. Okay. Philip, you should be able to
Executive
unmute.
Armstrong, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for the, I've been introduced a lot of ways. That's never as one of the most interesting, but thank you. This is my time of the year when I'm out visiting all of the town's municipal meetings, and you're on my schedule for this evening. And it was very interesting listening to the Lanta. I too am on the Lehigh Valley Planning Transportation Committee. And in fact, I've recently been elected to represent 4 states, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and Delaware, in regional planning. And I think that's where the future lies, how whatever we do affects everybody around us. So we have to start looking at things regionally. But really why I come here, Mr. Ginder, is not more or less for me to talk, but answer any questions. I will say in the last several years, we have worked really close with Whitehall Township. I think we have gotten quite a great partnership going. The CARES funding, we were able to help out all the towns in Lehigh County with that, and we did it with the most non-political way you could do it. We did it by population, period. So nobody could say, there was influence by this town or that city or whatever. So I think that helped out. We were also one of the only counties that did bring about money for the fire companies and the EMTs. And I know we also work with the police chief, Marks, on our juvenile and our justice program. So we see him quite often also. So I think we do have and have had the last couple of years, and I hope we continue in the future to have a good working relationship with Whitehall Township. But what I really would like to know, if Tom always has questions, and I was wondering if Tom or Mr. Warren would have some questions about the county, what's going on?
You have a question, Mr. Armstrong.
I knew you would.
It's a softball question.
Okay.
Yeah. Tonight we're voting on buying radios for our fire department. I know you had a grants program we didn't apply for earlier, but one thing that keeps coming up is the county going to digital. And so I think our fire chief is intuitive that he is going to be purchasing radios, if I'm correct, that are both analog and digital capable. So talking with Commissioner Elbick, it sounds like that's something that the feasibility study might be on the Lehigh County's near-term plan, but the implementation might be a few years off. Do you know anything about that? Or I guess I would lobby for the county to look at putting the feasibility study in one of the capital improvement plans in the next couple of years.
Well, we are actually working on it right now. In fact, just last week, we were looking into this, and the cost of those radios, we're looking at $4,000 to $5,000 a radio. So what the county is, again, we're just in the planning stages, but I'm hoping that maybe the county could purchase the radios in bulk and get a better price then for each municipality, because it is going to be an expense to convert to this system. But as you know, and you're absolutely correct, this is the future of where we need to go. So we are looking into that, yes, and we are looking into maybe about a mass purchase where we could help out in reducing the costs.
And for the rest of the board, the digital capabilities are far better than the analog. I think the Berks County has digital, and you don't get the static, you don't get a lot of the background noise, and soon the analog will be obsolete, and you'll only be able to purchase digital radios.
Yes, it's like I said, it's not something that we can postpone. It is something that we are already starting.
I know from a municipality standpoint, anything the county can do to help lower the cost of these radios or help subsidize some of the radios, that would be appreciated. So thank you.
You're more than welcome, Mr. Warren. Any others? Mr. Ginder, do you have any comments? Or...
Well, I just want to thank you for the job you're doing at the county. You know, it shows. It definitely shows, and we're really thankful for everything we get here in Whitehall. And we just ask you keep us in mind in the future, because as you well know, we do know where you live.
Yes, and almost everything that I have learned of government, I learned at your hands. So I do appreciate that. I really do. And it is something that I think about quite often.
Well, I appreciate that comment, Phil. Thank you. And it was always a pleasure working side by side with you. Without question, you always managed to get things done.
Well,
Phil, I'd like to, sorry, go ahead, Phil.
No, well, we've worked really hard the last 4 years is trying to take politics out of local government. And it has shown the work we're doing with all the municipalities. The word party has never come up. It's what do we need to get this job done, and how do we need to work together to get it done? So that, I think, is one of the greatest things, because when I first took over, it was a little bit too much politics for me. You know, in Whitehall, we never cared about that, and I tried to carry that over into the county, and it's taken a little bit, but now I really do feel we're working on things not because they're one party or another, but because they're the right things to do.
Phil, I want to congratulate you because you've made some tough decisions, and I think you've been recognized by now sitting at a national level to represent our region and our area at the national level, being recognized, and it's been due for you, Phil. I can't thank you enough for the way you've helped us in the last few years, and I know that you're always an ear for us as you are for everybody else, but I appreciate the integrity that you've used in managing your programs down at the county. I just need to say that out loud. I know you're used to me kind of teasing you a little bit, but this is heartfelt, and I want to thank you for it.
I appreciate that, Mayor, very, very much. And like I said, I think we've had a great working relationship in getting things done, both in Whitehall and on the county level. So, and we see Lee quite often too at our meetings, and you know, it's nice to have all those familiar faces and great people to work with. And even when Mr. Marks calls me for favors, we're always able to try to find out something to help him out there. So it's a pleasure.
I actually have a quick question, Mr. Armstrong. This is Commissioner Fisher.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So first, I want to thank you for what you've done with the COVID stuff. I want to thank you for answering my questions when we were talking a lot about the vaccination stuff. earlier this year. And I mean, I do think the county and the country and the state, everybody has made a lot of progress in getting the vaccination in. I'm vaccinated, happy as a clam. I guess my next question, and I understand this is a really hard one to answer, and I guess we're all in the same boat on this one. Is the county, is the county doing anything, or how's it coordinating? How's it doing with like trying to get to those, like, I guess I want to call them the vaccine holdouts, like the ones it's really hard to get to? I mean, this is a hard one.
Yes.
Where are we at?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because last week and even today, I've been working on that. We're going to have vaccinations at the Iron Pigs game. And as you know now, the vaccinations are going to be available at drugstores. I just met with the people from Wise's grocery store chain, and they're going to be opening up 2 new stores in Lehigh County in the next week or two. And in the stores, they're going to be, we're looking at, okay, maybe we can do some kind of incentive or coupon that gets them something at the store why they get their vaccination. We're also looking at a certain group of people that have been the anti-vaxxers, and how can we get the information to them. Just over the weekend, I met with Northampton County Executive and we're looking at maybe trying to get a local stock car racer to do a little bit of the advertising for us. And we're going to try to get people that have been a little hesitant, and we understand why, but now we need to get them the idea that, look, it's been out there. Millions of people have gotten it. We're doing well with it. We want to get the county up. Right now, we're over 50%, but we need to get that better. So we need government officials such as yourself, people, community leaders like Mayor Harricle, everybody getting out there and just getting the word out. Because now it's not a point of getting the vaccine, which was a problem. Now it's a point of getting the people. If you can get 200 people somewhere, I can get you a mobile unit out there giving you the shots. I can tell you that right now. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate everything you've done. I definitely feel like this might even be the ironically hardest part of the pandemic. So, I mean, if we come up with ideas, I'd definitely be willing to coordinate with you. If we could do something, this is the hardest part, and I appreciate what you're doing. And I guess my last question. If I got a third shot, could I get some like free tickets to stuff or like, coupons? Is that a possibility?
Well, there might be. I'm sure there's going to be a booster shot for all of us down the road. Okay. I really am, but that's a little bit down. So, but we are working on all kinds of things, anything we can. I know Northampton County gave a cash incentive to the employees at Cedarbrook or at Graysdale. We didn't go that far, but in the beginning it was tough trying to convince people, and for legitimate reasons too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I got. And again, I just want to appreciate everything you're doing on the COVID front. So again, thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
Well, and by the way, if you get the third shot, I'll make sure that Phil Ginder takes you out to lunch.
Okay.
All right.
I'll hold both Phils to it. Thank you.
Okay. All righty.
Thank you, Phil.
You're more than welcome.
This is one of the few times I had a long conversation with you and I didn't have to sit and hold my wallet closed.
Oh, okay. I deserve that one too. Okay.
All right. Thanks again, Phil. Any other questions for Executive Armstrong? Anybody else for courtesy of the floor? If not, we're going to move on. Public hearing and voting on ordinances. Bill number 12, 2021. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the purchase of 12 portable radios for the Fire Bureau of the Township of Whitehall in accordance with Section 3.20 of the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorizations of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion, Warren.
Do we have a second?
I'll second D.
Comments from the board?
Chief, this is Commissioner Warren. Just want to verify these are the analog and digital capable radios, and that we'll be recycling out the oldest radios and those that are most at risk.
Yes, sir, they are. They're capable of doing VHF, UHF, P25 digital, and continuing on so that we can work our way into the future.
How much are they a piece approximately, or you know? I guess
believe
I could have
they're
did the math
6,000.
myself.
With the mic and everything else, I believe they were 6.
They appear to be somewhere around 6,000 a radio.
Actually, this is Commissioner Fisher, and this might be a dumb question, but like with like $6,000 a handset, like how are these things going to be protected, kept safe? Like, you know, they seem like quite an expensive piece of equipment.
I agree with you. And one of the things that we implemented was in our standard operating procedures that they all have to be kept in a radio strap harness. They can't be out of the harness.
Okay. I think you mentioned previously these are going to be like durable radios that can go like into a fire. They'll be kept like safe and like strong in there, like heat resistant and whatnot.
Yes, sir. They're built for firemen. They have the bigger knobs on there so that when we have our gloves on and stuff, they're actually capable of switching channels and stuff like that. Past radios that we have were not built for the fire department. They're built for police, EMS, or something like that.
Okay. Are these gonna be interoperable with police as well?
Negative. Nobody. We can listen to police, but we're not allowed to transmit on police channels.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
But it is capable of communicating with other fire departments as well as Northampton, because we assist them a lot as well.
Okay.
And they run off a different frequency.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Any other comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
Thanks, Chief, for answering those questions. Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 13, 2021. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the purchase of a 2022 Mack GR42BR cab and chassis single axle dump truck for the Public Works Bureau of the Township of Whitehall in accordance with section 3.20 of the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll move. Sloniker.
Do I have a second?
I'll second Fisher.
Comments from the board? Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 14, 2021. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the purchase of an SCBA decontamination washer for the Fire Bureau of the Township of Whitehall in accordance with section 3.20 of the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Fisher.
Do I have a second?
I'll second D.
Comments from the board? Any comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 15, 2021. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the purchase of a Park Air Activity Center pavilion for the Recreation Bureau of the Township of Whitehall in accordance with section 3.20 of the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Comments from the board?
I'll make the motion. Warren.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have a second?
I'll second D.
Comments from the board? Any comments from the board? All right, I have one comment. Mayor Herrickle, I'm still a little confused where we are with the price of this. The total price of everything is figured to be roughly what?
I'm actually going to get Tony in here to give you more specific information. Tony here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, good evening, Tony.
Well-
I'm a little confused with total pricing. It's been back and forth and grants and how much of these grants are actual cash and how much must the township put to them. Can we try and do you know anything with the final numbers of this project?
The last final numbers I had was the kit itself, which is the Park Air Activity Center 30 by 68 with 26 by 24 enclosed. The last price I got from George Eli Associates, who's the vendor for Cedar Forest products, was $114,488. Freight charges for shipping the item would be $2,140. The sealed engineering drawings, which would be ours alone, would be $1,500 to give us a grand total. Hang on, 4140 plus 1,500 would give us a grand total of $118,128. And then if we wanted to add various plumbing fixtures, electrical fixture packages, a steel roof, which I would recommend, and steel columns, which I would recommend, that would be adding another $7,700 for the roof and the columns. I think plumbing fixtures and electrical fixtures, we could do better off if we bought them somewhere here locally. We could get probably a better price than what's in there. That would be the price of the kit delivered to our property and stored until we could construct it.
So it's around 125,000, 126,000.
Yes, Phil.
Okay. Now the three, and what kind of installation money?
Well, installation money, if we went with their package, which I think is a little bit high, installation would be a company that proposed shelter installation from Playworks, which is in Mifflinsburg, Pennsylvania. The pavilion installation would be 86,000. Hang on. I want to make sure I get this right. 86,000. The concrete pad would be 24,650 plus 24,650. The foundation wall would be 21,275. The The footer and excavation would be another 11.5 plus 11.5, which would be a total of $143,425 if we got an outside contractor to build it. That was the bid that we got from Eli Associates and Cedar Forest Products to use their company to build it.
Good. Now, my understanding is there's been 3 grants approved for this. Do you know how much each grant was worth?
The first grant was $129,000. The second grant was $76,707. Those 2 are in our pocket. They are grants that the DCNR awarded us over the past, let's say, 3 years. And then there is rumor that, I mean, I've not got anything official, Phil, that Ms. Boscola's department, that there was another $100,000 for us somewhere, but I haven't seen anything officially on paper or anything like that. The 129 and the 76,707 are definites that the state has awarded us. Mayor Harricle and myself have both signed electronically for those grants. So all we'd have to do is, once we buy the structure, apply to the state to get reimbursed through the 129, there would be some change left over to buy plumbing fixtures and electrical fixtures. And then the 76,707, that would be about half of what they're offering to build it with the company itself.
And those 2 grants, that 129,000 and the 76,000, those are full dollar amounts. The township doesn't have to put anything to those to receive those amounts.
Yes, sir.
That's great. That answers my question. Now I have some idea of where this money's all going.
Yeah, we do have $35,000 in the budget earmarked for this work too.
The budget actually shows $165,000 transferred laying there.
That was when that was listed in there. That included the 69,000. There were actually 3 grants: 2 in 2019, one for 69,622, one for 60,000. That's where Tony comes up with the 129, and so that was included carryover in the 2021 budget plus some extra dollars, and that comes out to about $35,000.
Yeah, the budget page actually shows 165,000. Okay. Anybody have any other questions on this?
No, I just want to personally thank everybody that's involved with pushing this ball as far as they have. Tony, Lee, John, Mike, and especially Carl Wagler. He's, the work that he puts into it, he loves his job, and I really appreciate what he's done to get this ball moving.
Any other comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 16, 2021, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for construction of 2021 CDBG handicap ramps, concrete curb and sidewalk improvements in Whitehall Township, contract number 2021-04, in accordance with section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll move, Phil. Attia.
The second?
I'll
Do we have a
second.
second?
Sloniker,
Comments from the board? Any comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Tia,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 17, 2021, an ordinance deferring the required installation of curbing and sidewalks along rural road frontage of 3704 and 3712 Rural Road as required in Chapter 21, Section 21-16 of the Codified Ordinances of Whitehall Township. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Marks.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments from the board?
Who is the second, please?
Me.
Oh, D. Thank
Oh,
you.
we have Rob filling in for this one.
Could you put them through, please?
Okay, Rob, you're now unmuted.
Good evening. If anybody has any questions, I was here last evening or last week to answer questions. At that time, we discussed it. If they have any questions for this evening, my client is here. As a recap, this is a lot consolidation of 2 existing lots on the east side of Rural Road, south of Mechanicsville Road. We're requesting a deferral of curbing and sidewalk due to stormwater issues out on that property, that we would be trapping stormwater and creating problems for the intersection to the north and the property owner to the north.
Anybody have any questions for Rob? Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner D.
You took my vote
Oh,
already.
I'm sorry. Pardon me. Commissioner Sloniker, aye. President Ginder.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Under public hearing and voting on resolutions, resolution number 3159. A resolution conditionally approving the minor subdivision lot consolidation plan of 3704 Rural Road and 3712 Rural Road. Do I have a motion?
I'll move Fisher.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry,
was
who
that?
was the second?
Marks.
Comment from the board.
Oh, pardon me, I still didn't understand the second. Who?
Joe Marks.
Okay, thank you.
Comments from the board. Comments from the public.
We have Rob here available for questions, but no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fisher,
You got me already.
okay. It's hard in the dark. President Ginder,
Yes.
did I get everybody?
Tia.
Okay, we'll let you
Yes.
go last, okay. Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3160, a resolution for sewage facilities plan revision for new land development of the Whitehall Parkway Pavilion, Whitehall, Pennsylvania. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion, Warren.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Second Fisher.
Comments from the board. Any comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye, Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
and President Ginder.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Under other, a motion to reappoint Michael Long to the Plumbers Examining Board, term to expire 4/30/2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, D.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Warren.
Comments from the board?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Long for stepping up. It's an important position, may not sound like it, but I appreciate his volunteering to do so. Thank you.
He's been doing it for many years.
Yes, he has, from what I understand.
Any other comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye, President Ginder.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Under discussion item, we asked our rec director, Mr. Tony Koch, if he could come tonight to kind of give us an overview of where we're heading with the Jefferson Pool and take any questions he might have on that. And when he's done with that, if he could please just kind of give us a brief what we can expect to see for recreation in Whitehall with the pools and playgrounds at Camp Whitehall this summer. Tony, thanks for coming tonight and getting us straight on this.
No problem. I'll take Jefferson first, since that seems to be the white elephant in the room. The pool was built in 1966, and no major renovations have taken place to that pool that I'm aware of. Now, if there has been, like I said, I'm not aware of any. Over the course of the life of the pool, like many swimming pools, it's just simply wore out. Built in a different time, it was state of the art at the time, and it is not a feasible swimming pool to work with right now. I have a pump house that is in dire disrepair. I brought in 2 consulting companies to try to give me ideas of which way we'd want to go with the pool. Both of them are on the record of giving us some type of, I guess, proposal, which we would have to obviously pay for. But during my course of talking with these engineers, and they're both aquatic engineers. They're not structural engineers, not civil engineers. They're both aquatic engineers. Both of them come up with basically the same thing. We have a pool where the pump house is totally not safe. We have an electrical system that is basically underwater because of leaking and rusty pipes. We have chemicals that are right next to the electrical system, which is theoretically illegal the way we have it. The pump system itself at the pool, it would be to be a Band-Aid effect, just to maybe start the pool, would be close to $30,000, plus a retaining wall that is falling in that would have to be repaired, and that was we had an estimate of that about $8,000 at the time. The structure of the pool itself, if you go to the inside of the pool, when we have it filled up, and Tim Chrisman and the recreation guys have it looking pristine every time we do it, but the lighting system and the electrical system inside the pool is shot. It doesn't work, and by law, if it doesn't work, if we have a system there, we have to use it, and it doesn't work. It leaks, and we had leakage in the pool itself. So we started pulling out the lights, trying to patch it, trying to find out where it was going. But we just had more and more leakage every time we tried to do it. And it was my estimation that the pool itself would have been unsafe to operate, to have patrons inside the pool. So this year, the board, I went to the mayor, and arbitrarily, my recommendation would be not to open the pool until we have some type of plan. The plan that the engineers have gave me was, number one, they would have to take the pump house from where it is and put it above ground. Take everything that's metal inside there, turn it into plastic or PVC type units. The pool itself, which is 325,000 gallon pool, which is a pretty big pool, they recommended that we would basically cut off the diving well, put a pool within inside the pool using steel walls and some type of liner system that they have right now. Take the pool from 325,000 gallons down to about 235,000 gallons. Take the diving area out and make the pool at the deepest about 5 foot deep, which is where pools are going today. If you really take a study of swimming pools today, they don't have lane racing anymore. That seems to be a thing of the past for public pools. Our entrance for the baby area would be what they call a beachfront entrance. Take away the steps, take away the whole electrical system by building a pool within the pool, using the electrical system on the exterior of the pool to shine down on the pool, putting a stainless steel gutter system around the edge of the pool instead of the skimming system that we have now, because it would be more cost efficient running the pools, et cetera, et cetera. Estimations, gentlemen, would be, I would say, between $1.5 and $2 million to redo Jefferson Pool at this particular time. Silence is golden. As far as the other pools go, we will have Cementon open, and we will have hockey open. We're working on them right now. In fact, my guys, we have not sandblast. We have power washed the Cementon pool. We took out some metal guard stands, and we're going through making sure everything's grounded up there as we speak. This week, I would like to get that pool painted within the next week if the weather cooperates. Every time we're ready to paint, I get some kind of rain, and it's like, okay, we're sort of holding on that. The 2 motors up at Cementon are shot. We have 2 motors on order right now to replace, so that our pumping system, which we are rebuilding right now, will be state of the art. Jeff Heffelfinger is our new pool tech, and he has a vast array of knowledge in both plumbing, electric, and pumping systems, and so we're working pretty well on that. The hockey pool itself, we'll start to drain that within the next 2 weeks. That's a pretty simple drain, power wash, fill, chemical. A lot of questions came up to me over the course of the past couple of weeks because there is a shortage of chlorine. If you have a pool in your house, you use a solid tablet type situation for the pool, where we're using a liquid chlorine, and there doesn't seem to be any shortage for the liquid chlorine. So the biggest problem we're having right now is lifeguards. I got 17 guards in my pocket, which should be enough to run 2 pools. If we had 3 pools, we would not have enough guards to run it. I have 10 pool managers in my pocket, which would be basically enough people to run it. Jamie Henry will be our new aquatics director. I'm meeting all my guards and pool managers on Thursday night up at the trailhead, since that's the best place for us to meet en masse. to go over the new rules. I have to get some of my guards they still have to get their child abuse, and they're all certified with the CPR and the first aid. I don't have any problem with that. I just need to get some of them with child abuse, and we should be ready to go on that. Another bull that sort of hit the fence today, gentlemen, is that I do not think Camp Whitehall is going to be a go. We only had 4 applications for positions. Out of the 4 applications, 4 of them were male. We got a female at the last minute, but we had our Camp Whitehall director didn't like the direction that we were heading, so she turned in her resignation today, and I just don't think it's going to work. So I'm going to work on a plan that I can take the people that maybe are hired to work Camp Whitehall and maybe get them as playground instructors and rotate them through different playgrounds to get the kids involved in some type of physical activity, play some sports and games and get some things going for the summer. But that's something I'm going to have to work very hard on in the next week since we're ran out of time. The COVID has definitely put us in a very bad situation. Just to give you an idea I'm going back to the lifeguards. Bethlehem has called me. They do not have enough guards. They want to know if I have extras. Allentown has called me. They're looking for guards. Do we have extras? So I don't know what's happened out there, but we're just not getting the workforce to work for the summer that we've had in the past. Usually by this time, we'd have about 40 guards. I do have a new class of lifeguards that Jen Bodner, our instructor, is starting at Whitehall, so I'll get another 11 guards in my pocket before the summer. And once we get them trained and certified, we can sort of use them as a pool for people to substitute, because guards do. We do have attrition where some of them leave, some of them go to sports, and some of them just don't want to do it after they find out the rigors that being a lifeguard can be, especially under Tony, because I've run a pretty tight ship with my lifeguards. My goal is not to get them wet this year, but if they don't get wet, we haven't made a save. If we didn't make a save, we're a pretty safe situation. That's about it, guys. I'm open for questions.
Any questions for Tony?
Coach Koch, I just want to say you demonstrated some great math skills during the meeting today for a social studies teacher. It was impressive.
You know, I have a calculator right at my desk here, Andy.
Any other questions for Tony? Tony, as usual, you do a fantastic job. And we all understand how hard it is with COVID going on and everything else to even keep some of this stuff staffed and moving forward. And you know, I guess I have to look at it and say, we see recreation moving forward, and we've always taken recreation very serious in Whitehall Township. And, you know, we see it moving forward, and I think we can be proud of that. And we're certainly proud of the effort you and all the people working for you put into this.
Thanks, Phil. It's Tim Chrisman, Brian Luckenbill, John Moyer, Jeff Heffelfinger, Kevin Schwartz, and Eric Cusco. I got 5 guys, and we got 8 playgrounds, the IRT, and the Parkway, and I keep them hopping most of the day. I meet them every day at 7 o'clock down at the barn, and we're going there. We have other things that are happening this summer. We got a Christmas in July on July 25th down at the barn. We're going to have the Chamber of Commerce vendors down there. We're opening up our rentals of our building again starting on June 1st as the governor has loosened up the COVID restrictions. So hopefully the playgrounds can start making some money again. We have 2 new dugout roofs down at Fullerton, and we're moving quite a bit. Once I get my summer help, I'll be able to stay out ahead of the grass cutting, and that's going to happen next week. So thank you for the kind words, guys, but we got to have pride in the township. There's no question about it.
Any other comments for Tony? All right, thanks, Tony. You have a good night. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, reports of public officials. We'll start with the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner D, would you please go first?
Yes, thank you, President Ginder. I have several items to go over here. We were talking earlier about vaccinations. The clinic is open next to Giant in the old AC Moore building. I do not believe you need appointments anymore. I do know that Dorney Park is having a drive-through COVID vaccination Wednesday, 8 to 4. No appointment necessary. Just drive up, you get vaccinated, and you drive right off. So please get vaccinated out there. Plenty of opportunities. I didn't have the opportunity to ask County Executive Armstrong, but the Lehigh County Department of Aging and Adult Services is now doing in-person vaccinations for homebound, especially seniors. So he just texted me and says they've done 200. So that's fantastic. So if there's anybody you know who needs a vaccination, who does not drive, they're homebound, they can call Lehigh County Department of Aging and Adult Services and arrange to get vaccinated. Saturday, we're supposed to have a litter cleanup, which we postponed because of the rain. A couple of us showed up anyway and did some cleanup. I cleaned up along the creek down behind Home Depot. A lot of garbage down there. I'm asking anybody, we have the same problem on the Ironton Rail Trail. If you bring anything in that can be garbage, please take it with you. I know people like to fish along the creek. I found several Dunkin' Donuts cups. I need my coffee in the morning too, but bring a little bag for garbage. Same thing on the IRT. I understand people bring water bottles, you get thirsty, but just please take your trash with you. There's no reason to leave it behind for somebody else to clean up. Speaking of the Ironton Rail Trail, the next meeting is Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the main trailhead on Chestnut Street. If you use the IRT, you're interested in coming out and volunteering, come to the meeting, learn about volunteer opportunities. We can use all the volunteers that we can get. The senior center at West Caddy Playground, I believe, is going to open on June 1st. So our seniors will have somewhere to go. That's open Tuesday through Friday, so that's great news. I also want to mention the electronic recycling document shredding event is going to be Saturday, June 26th at the Whitehall Copley Middle School from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. A lot of people ask me, what do I do with my old television sets? Here's your opportunity to get rid of them. You do have to pay for television sets, but any other DVD recorders, VHS players, computers, anything like that, any electronics are free. The TVs you do have to pay for. So it's always a big event. There's a big turnout, and it's a great way to get rid of that stuff. I'm sure almost every one of us has an old TV or something sitting in the garage or the shed, so it's a great opportunity to get rid of it. So that's all I have. Thank you very much for the time.
Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, President Ginder. Commissioner D took most of my stuff, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We were supposed to have the cleanup this last weekend. We were looking at the weather forecast. It looked like it was going to be a washout. So myself, Commissioner D, Commissioner Warren, and Deb Rosine from the Environmental Committee came down, and we were going to tell people to not come out, to just go home, but the weather turned out to be, unfortunately, ironically beautiful. So we had the bag, so we started cleaning some stuff up anyway. We did haul out a bunch of trash. We got some great pictures on the Environmental Advisory Council's Facebook page. So we are postponing this again to May 15th, this coming Saturday from 9 to noon. Don't worry, there is plenty of trash still down there. As Commissioner D alluded to, so we definitely need the help down there. So come on down. Wear jeans or some kind of a long like pants, closed-toed shoes, and Commissioner Warren pointed this out to us. yellow vests, just like to show that, you know, what we're doing. So I'll be wearing a yellow vest. So just look for the guy in the Home Depot parking lot at 9 with a yellow vest. So please come down there. Before that, on May 13th, this coming Thursday, at 7 o'clock, there will be another meeting of the Environmental Advisory Council at the Chestnut Street Barn. At 6:15 before the meeting, the littering committee will be active. So we'll be there as well. So if you really want to look into the environmental stuff, look to see how the littering committee is expanding, what they want to do. They have some great stuff coming down the pipeline. They have some great ideas for cleanups. They have some great ideas to get the community involved. Please come down. We're one of the biggest things we're trying to like recognize businesses right now who are contributing and doing cleanups. So if you want to get active, this is a great way to do it. 6:15 at the Chestnut Street Barn for littering, or 7 for the regular EAC. So come on down. Those cleanups the next few days. The last thing I want to say, please get vaccinated. As I alluded to earlier, I am vaccinated. As Commissioner D said, a lot of places are just walk-ins now. Right next to the Giant, you can do, I believe it's a walk-in now. Coca-Cola Park is doing walk-ins for vaccinations right now. Please, please, please get it. It just came to my attention in the last 24 hours that someone I know who was not vaccinated is currently in the hospital right now with COVID. So, I mean, it's not over yet. We have a way out of this. Please, please, please get vaccinated. I saw my parents for the first time 2 weeks ago. I got to see them. I got to hug them. Everybody's vaccinated. I saw my grandmother. She's vaccinated. Please, please, please. The shot is free. There's three great shots right now that I trust. Take any of them. We're getting through this. So this is how we got to go. So that's all I got to say. So thank you, President Ginder, and I'll hand it back over.
Commissioner Attia?
Thanks, Phil. I don't really have much. I did want to just quick thank Chief Marks and Mr. Akis for putting together the monthly reports that we received in the packet. I know that there's a lot of effort and detail that goes into those monthly reports, and I really appreciate them putting them together. That's really all I have. So thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Commissioner Warren?
Yeah, I just want to add on, I neglected to thank Representative McNeil, Senator Boscola, and Representative Mako and their support with the pavilion, and especially Commissioner McD, who helped keep us abreast of the grants and helped move the ball along when we had questions. So thanks, Mick. And just a quick shout out to the Whitehall Mennonite Church, who just had their 25th anniversary of litter cleanup, of all things we're talking tonight, along MacArthur Road. This organization's been doing it for 25 years. They do it twice a year. It's part of the Adopt a Highway program. And, they do it without a lot of fanfare, but a lot of people notice the fruits of their labor when the bags are along the road. And thank you to Keystone and Frank Clark for helping facilitate PennDOT cleaning South Church Street, taking back some of the brush and the trees that were obscuring motorist view. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Sloniger?
Nothing at this time. I hear all these other guys thanking everybody, so they already did it for me. So I'm a happy guy about that.
Commissioner Marks?
I have nothing.
All right, I have just a few things. Attorney Gross, did we find anything out about the flagpole?
I did. The mayor and I spoke about it last week after the meeting. He was going to be inquiring a little bit further, looking through some records, and perhaps he's here. I apologize. Or he was going to go back and speak to some of the people who were involved back when it was originally installed. The main concern there was just to make sure that there wasn't either a dedication or some other reason that it shouldn't be removed. Neither of us are aware of one, but he was going to look into that a little further and expected to be able to report back to you so you could take some action at next month's meeting.
I can jump in here, Phil, and tell you that I had a short week last week, and I did not get to speak with anybody about it, but I will within the next few days to
Okay.
determine whether we have, whether we would be creating a problem for anybody if we did move that. So I'll get back to you.
Okay. Next, Frank Clark, are you on?
I'm here, Phil.
All right, I'm going to lump these three together. If there's no changes, that's fine. If you have any new information. The 6-foot storm pipe south of 22, the Mechanicsville Road sidewalk, and the repairs to the collapse at Lehigh Avenue. Is there anything new to talk about on those this week, or any other projects going on that you're involved in?
As far as the 6-foot diameter storm pipe, the owner of the construction company just got into town last week, and he wanted to go see it for himself this week. I have a tentative day of Wednesday, but I don't have a time yet. So once he has that information, we should be able to button that up, at least find a plan of action. The Mechanicsville Road, there's no change at this point. I'm waiting for some information back from PennDOT on the ability to add multiple names to the highway occupancy permit, but as yet I haven't heard anything back yet from those guys. With South Lehigh Avenue, we met with the contractor on Thursday of this past week, did a little bit more field engineering in regard to the patchwork and the repaving of the topping out of the intersection of Main Street and Columbia. So that's underway. We just reviewed shop drawings with rebar design, et cetera, for the retaining wall. So that's been approved and that's been sent back to the contractor today. So we're probably going to see some action out there in a couple of weeks.
Okay, and anything else you're involved in you want to talk about right now?
Nothing comes to mind right now.
Oh, good. No news is good news.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Now, for the mayor, have we gotten anywhere with the Hall Road and Reliance Street agreement?
That has been formulated, sent off to the property owner. Jack continued to work on that. We have a we have an agreement that was effectively almost 99% changed. So we're still working on that, hoping to get to a consensus, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Rec commission meetings. I don't believe the board's got rec commission meetings this month. We had requested to start getting them last month. Are we due to get them?
Phil, if I can speak to that, Bob Abbott is our secretary, and what I will do is he usually sends the minutes out at the end of the month. I will request that you get put on the email that the minutes are sent to you also, okay?
Yeah, not only me, the whole board of commissioners should get those meetings so they, it gives them an idea of what's going on there.
Correct. I'll get that taken care of with Bob.
Thanks for that. And then last question, I don't know if you want to answer this, Tony, or the mayor. A list of playground officers on all the playgrounds, and are the financials complete, up to date?
The financials go out June 1st, and last year I have everybody, but on June 1st, I sent them the financial reports and asked them to return them in 2 weeks. Be honest with you, the financial reports are usually going to show negative because there are no rentals or anything to make money, and a lot of the sports programs are shut down due to the COVID and just opening up right now, Phil.
Yeah. Now, when I say financials, we're not interested in their total financials. There was a financial statement a few years ago developed coming from the township when Glenn Salt was the executive, that to be filled out.
Yeah, in fact, I was just looking at the forms tonight as I was sitting here, waiting for my turn, and I'm looking at that. And I have to get them out, make copies, and get them out tomorrow.
That's the one we're interested in because, and the reason that was done was we're taking public tax dollars and putting it in these playgrounds. So, we need to see financials that, because of what we're doing with money.
I'll add it to the list, Phil.
We're not trying to hold anything back or anything like that, but these are things that the township should have on record. And again, the commissioners should be seeing these things.
I concur.
All right, that catches that one up. Is the treasurer on? I'm not sure if she was on tonight or not. She had called me earlier. She wasn't sure.
We have Colleen Gober.
Yeah,
I
she's-
am.
Okay.
Okay. The reports that you requested, Phil, I had an error on one. I've been working on it. I have just about everything resolved. So tomorrow or Wednesday, I will get everything emailed to all the members of the board. I would just like to add that it takes me about an hour or an hour and a half just to go to the bank on a daily basis since we no longer have a bank in Whitehall. So that takes one whole day out of my week, which really, doesn't help things any. But I'm pretty well up to date with those. We've been working really hard on the tax collecting. We're all caught up with that. I've also been dealing with a lot of seniors who have no way to get here, or they don't have a stamp or whatever they call crying about. And I have been more than willing to go to their homes and pick up their taxes for them and then take them receipts. So that takes some time out of my day too. But I don't mind doing it because they've been really great about it. Other than that, it's a daily basis of just keeping up with everything that's going on. So, I'm pleased with the way things are going in the office. And like I said, the error was my error. I am willing to, say that, and I did correct that. So I have a few small accounts that have to be brought up before I can present you with the whole thing. And like I said, I'll get it out in emails to you.
And the last one was, I was looking for the statement of account that was overdrawn in late 2020 into the late first quarter
Yes.
of 21 with analysis fees. I was looking for a copy of that to see what these analysis fees all were.
Yes, what I have to do with that is the township in the past, because the analysis fees were generally lower than the interest. You didn't have to really worry about it, but now what I'm going to have to do is regularly bill the township and the school district for the analysis fees because they're much higher than they used to be. So that there will keep the account where it needs to go. Right now, it's at a zero balance till I can get that money from the township and the school district.
All right, that's all the questions I had. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor's report.
Okay, we've been having some problems. Oops, yeah, I'm there. We've been having some problems along the creek, and I sat in on a Penn State Extension first investigation of stream health presentation, and I'm hoping that we can get some of the areas along this creek cleaned up a bit better, and looking for an opportunity to get with DEP again to see if we can have money available to the private property owners who live along that creek, because we can't go in and clean up the mess that's along that creek in some areas. As you know, because I think almost all of the board members were in the building. The building's coming along really well, and we're on budget, we're on time. Dewey's doing a great job of managing this development project, and we're looking forward to this being over pretty soon. Now we've got 9 months to go, or maybe 8. Hopefully we're going to continue as we have throughout this difficult times of having to move into here, and somebody's cold one day and hot the next, but we're getting through it. And I think it's going to be something that the community is going to be able to be very proud of. We talked about the website last week. We're in the process of updating and have been working on this for the past few months, updating the videos for the township website. And by the time we have budget time coming up, we'll have an understanding of what we're going to have to do and put into the budget in order to guarantee that we have a more effective way of reaching out to the community. It's been around for a while. It's a bit tough to deal with, but we'll be able to meet your needs, meet the community's needs by the next budget season. I want to thank Commissioner D for being our on-the-scene legislative assistant because he's been a great help to us over the past few months. And having somebody who is sitting with one of our legislators every day gives us a foot up or a step up on a lot of other communities, and Mick and Jean do a great job for us. I want to thank all the people who've been out doing the litter work. Since we started this litter initiative, we're beginning to generate more assistance from more people. The Rotary's on board. But I want to thank, among other people, somebody named Judy Harricle, who has been going down to Chestnut Street and South Church Street and cleaning up along the entire area at the along the park. There are lots of things going on here. At this point, I don't have much else to report. If you have some questions for me, I'd be glad to be responsive.
Any questions for the mayor? Thanks, Mayor Harricle.
Okay.
Last was the treasurer's report. I don't know how much of this was covered when I had questions for the treasurer, but let's just see if there's anything there. Treasurer's report. Is Colleen on yet?
Okay, I'm here, Phil. I'm here. Those reports, it's like I said when I spoke before, those reports, because of the error that I had, and I have since corrected it, it was something that I entered incorrectly. I can probably have those out to you tomorrow or Wednesday. We're doing well with the collection of taxes, which surprises me, but we're all caught up with what's come in, which has never happened before, so we're doing well. Is there anything else?
Any questions for the treasurer? Okay, moving forward. Anything else for the good of the township this evening?
Remind people about the primary election next Tuesday.
Would you do that, Tom?
I just did.
That'll take care of that. Anybody have anything else they wanted to go over tonight? If not, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion, D.
Do I have a second?
Second it, Phil.
We have a first and a second. This meeting is adjourned. I wish to thank everybody for their time this evening. Stay safe. Melissa, thanks for helping us through this again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, good
Have a
night.
good one.
Night.
Or thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.